Are you into exclusive animalic scents? Boy, do I have two good ones for you today. Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Off, and I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances, and this is a first impression comparison between Areej le Doré, War and Peace, and Spirit of Dubai Oud. In this video series, I compare and give my first impressions on two fragrances, usually in sample form, that I selected to cover a specific topic. This is not a fragrance battle. We're not here to decide which of the two fragrances are better. We're here to talk about the wear experience and to open the conversation. Today's episode is insanely exciting for me. I've been sitting on these two samples for way too long, especially this Areej le Doré. I've been dying to get my nose on this. I've been dying to get my first reaction on camera, and today is that day. The two fragrances I selected for this video, Areej le Doré's War and Peace and Spirit of Dubai's Oud, are mainly here to really represent the luxurious, exclusive, stinky aspect of fragrances. Those fragrances which feature really high quality ingredients, very rare ingredients that are offered at either a high price or are very difficult to get. I'm fully aware that these two fragrances don't really smell like each other. War and Peace, at least according to the notes on Fragrantica and Perfumo, seems to be a little bit more about the animalics, a little bit more about those exclusive ingredients. As I said, it doesn't really feature oud. When looking at the notes for Spirit of Dubai Oud, you're kind of overwhelmed. There's this massive waterfall of notes, a little bit Roja style. I feel that having so many notes is a little bit meaningless. It's pretty much impossible to single out every note, and it just feels like a cheap marketing tactic. Nonetheless, Spirit of Dubai is known for their high quality fragrances and especially their high price tags. When talking price tag, just to get that out of the way, Oud by Spirit of Dubai is very expensive. The best price that I found for 100 ml is about 800 euros or dollars. When talking about Areej le Doré, this fragrance is not even for sale anymore. It's discontinued, or rather, maybe out of stock, maybe out of production. I know a person that is selling a bottle for this, and this goes extremely expensive as well. War and Peace, I think that the asking price from this person for like an almost full bottle, the person that gave me the sample, by the way, is about like $500 to $600, just insanely expensive. And this is due to the rarity and the exclusive artisanal nature of Areej le Doré. I have to admit that this brand has been always very appealing to me. It's been really frustrating to try to get the brand. It's incredibly difficult to get, very rare. If you go on the official website, everything is out of stock. It's also incredibly expensive if you manage to be one of the first ones to actually get it from the stock. In most cases, you'll also have to factor in customs and import taxes and all that giant pain in the ass, because these fragrances ship from Thailand or maybe Russia or something like that. Anyway, my interest in the house of Areej le Doré has been heavily discouraged by this insane unavailability of these fragrances. I've been so discouraged, in fact, that I'm not ashamed to admit that I started looking down to the brand and being very bitter to this FOMO marketing. I really hate low availability. I really hate limited editions and limited runs. And if you're familiar with the fairy tale of the fox and the grapes, that was basically me. I was that fox. I couldn't reach the grapes, so I started disregarding the fragrances and saying that they weren't that great anyway. And although I fully realized that my reaction was a little bit childish in approach, I still cannot justify this. I still cannot endorse this practice. Yes, the ingredients are super high quality, very exclusive and limited availability, leading to limited supply of bottles. But overall, this FOMO marketing is just bad. It's bad, and it leads to angry customers, it leads to scalping, it just leads to unhappiness in the frag community. Also, there's something to be said about spending large amounts of money on something like this from a house which is relatively new and unknown. And for all we know, Russian Adam might be putting in whatever he wants in this and just claiming it to be super exclusive and super rare. And I'm not doubting him at all. I'm sure that he's the honest, down-to-earth, passionate, ingredient nerd that he appears to be on the interviews. But the reality is, we just have to take his word for it. On the other hand, we have a house like Spirit of Dubai with fragrances which are much more widely available, easy to purchase, even maybe at discounters. But overall, again, the house of Spirit of Dubai is also relatively new to the market. And should we trust their opinion, should we trust their expertise in bringing the highest quality ingredients, the highest quality fragrance to the market, especially for this price? And I really don't want to pass as overly negative with all the skepticism, but it's just fair that the consumer should proceed with caution and exert caution, as they do with many other houses on the market. We often criticize other houses, questioning the use of real oud or not, criticizing the heavy use of synthetics, and it's not really fair to just put houses like Areej le Doré, Bartnikov, and other artisanal houses up on the pedestal, thinking that they're just faultless, using high quality ingredients just because they claim to be. I say, just keep your mind open, keep your eyes peeled, manifest caution, but overall, just enjoy these fragrances because they all smell amazing. Just to remind you guys how all this works, I'll be spraying these two fragrances directly in the skin, talking about the very first opening, talking about my very first impressions, talking a little bit about the experiences that I have with the house or lack of thereof, coming back after 2 to 3 hours, talking about the dry down, the experience in the dry down, the wear experience as a whole, giving my forecasted longevity, value for money, and maybe even versatility in use cases, concluding with my final recommendations. I can't wait to dive into these two. They sound absolutely amazing. Before we start spraying, I just want to preface that I have zero experience with either of these two fragrances. This sample here was given to me by a person on Parfumo. I'm extremely appreciative for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to this. This other sample I actually got at Excellence at the Spirit of Dubai stand. I specifically asked for oud because I knew that oud was a very heavy oud fragrance, very cheesy, very realistic, and very high quality. And as I said in my intro, I'm fully aware and fully prepared for these two to not smell alike at all. I'm not necessarily here to compare apples to apples. I'm here to compare luxury stink with luxury unattainable stink. Let's get right into it because I'm really excited. I'll start off with the Areej le Doré. I'm going to be spraying this on my left arm. The liquid in this decant seems incredibly dark, incredibly menacing. Let's hope that the atomizer lives up. I'm aiming for one good spray just because these scents are incredibly exclusive, very, very expensive, and I want to have a chance to wear it maybe tomorrow or the day after. Let's give it one good spray and see what happens. Okay. Better than I was expecting. Actually, the oil went kind of everywhere on my finger. It just went everywhere, and I already smell it strongly in the air. Wow, very, very radiant, very, very potent type of smell. The liquid on this sample appears to be very oily and staining. I have no doubt about that just because of the color. It's very, very beautiful in the air. I already really like the scent. It's incredibly rounded off, very, very smooth. This is definitely right up my alley. But before I take a sniff, I just wanted to mention that this fragrance is actually War and Peace 2. I'm not really aware of any differences between War and Peace 1 or 2. On Parfumo, they seem to have the same notes. They're probably the same composition, just with different batches of ingredients. And obviously, the Deer Musk, the natural ingredients, don't really smell the same batch per batch. So there might be a little bit of a variation. But I have nothing to compare to. And this, at least according to the label, and at least according to the person on Parfumo, is War and Peace 2. So I guess this is just a giant trust game. As far as Areej le Doré goes, I really don't have much experience with the house. I have a small attar, maybe 2 or 3 grams of Musk de Taif. It's a very, very beautiful Taif rose attar with a little bit of a musky, almost bloody component to it. It smells very unique. It smells very, very high quality. It smells natural. The longevity on that is not that great, but maybe it's due to the natural components. I cherish that fragrance. I use it very, very sparingly, and I only do a tiny swipe on my finger when I feel like experiencing that scent. Okay, enough chatting. Let's dig our nose into War and Peace 2. This smells very, very similar as I perceived it in the air. It's incredibly beautiful, very, very smooth. It's just very smooth. I'm overwhelmed by how rounded it is and how delicate it is, while still being decisively animalic. It smells like leather in a way. It smells also fruity. It has a lot of very natural type of sweetness. I'm not really sure what's bringing that in. But again, the sweetness comes across as something that's still animalic. It smells like it's coming from an animal. I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to break down the scent profile. It smells incredibly beautiful, incredibly addicting. It doesn't smell stinky at all. Well, it's clearly animalic, but not in a stinky way. It's just so well rounded off. It's like a beautiful, musky, furry blanket with a little bit of a chocolate tone. There's this sweetness, again, that is resonating within the scent. It smells very realistic, very, very high quality. It smells kind of like honey or maybe some sort of a floral, a very concentrated type of distilled floral, maybe like the pollen of a floral. It's very, very intense, very deep, very resonant, very rich. This is absolutely gorgeous. Hands down, one of the best things I've smelled recently. It's absolutely insane. It's so beautiful, so rounded off. It's not stinky. Again, I was expecting a lot more stench. I was expecting a lot more muskiness, a lot more acidity or pungency, or maybe like ammonia civet. This one here apparently has a lot of civet in here, but it's so incredibly smooth with zero hard edges. And when I smell this, I'm sort of picturing one of those clay balls that people polish to like a mirror finish. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but basically people get this clay, they compact it, and they just start working it with their hands and just polishing and polishing and polishing till they basically end up with these polished clay spheres, which I actually don't know the name of, and I've never seen one in person, but I do imagine that those kind of smell like this. Very refined, incredibly smooth, incredibly just refined to a polished degree, to a mirror finish. This smells like that, except that there's also a component of furriness, of warmth, of a warm blanket. Very, very unique, very strange. And again, I'm hit with this beautiful cacao note with a subtle sweetness. It smells so oily, so dense, so refined, so high quality. This smells like something that would last a very, very long time on skin. It's so deep and rich. The whole scent profile sits in the mid to lower part of the tone range. There's no zing, no energy up top. It's just like a massive, beautiful blanket, which smells incredibly natural, but kind of like an animal at the same time. It's so beautiful. Wow, I really can't get enough of this. The muskiness, the furriness is very, very prominent. I love this. I'll be definitely wearing this tomorrow, maybe even at work. Maybe I'm that bold. Really, really amazing stuff. I think I need a break from this just to fully appreciate it better later. Let's move on to Spirit of Dubai's Oud. Okay, let's open this thing up to see what this is all about. Hopefully it has a good atomizer, otherwise I'm gonna be pissed. Wow, this is a really nice sample. It feels weighty, it feels well made. It even has a cap. The atomizer also seems to be pretty good quality. Let's give it one good spray. Yeah, very, very good quality. Very nice samples. I'm happy at least for that. Yup, I can definitely smell it in the air. This is very potent, very pungent. It's definitely one of those cheesy ouds that I'm so much in love with recently. Wow, this is super loud, really, really intense. But before I give it a proper sniff, let me just very briefly talk to you about Spirit of Dubai. And I say very briefly because I really don't have much experience with the house. Spirit of Dubai comes across as one of those overly luxurious houses from the Middle East. And I say overly luxurious because their products, their brand in general comes across as a little bit tacky. Their bottles are completely over the top. They feature miniature sculptures, leather, gold, but not real. It's a little bit plastic. It's a little bit cheap. It's just too much, too overdone. And even the name, Spirit of Dubai, comes across as a little bit insecure, like they're trying to convey the luxury through the name. It's just not a good image. It kind of reminds me of the name Oma Luxury, which I criticized many times, and their overdone effort to appear luxurious and high-end. Guys, you don't need to do that. If your products are good, and these products are good, just let the products speak for themselves. You don't need all this flash, all this tackiness. Please keep focusing on the scents and maybe rediscover the beauty of a little bit more of a humble approach. That's my 2 cents on Spirit of Dubai. I guess I'm a little bit in a ranty mood today, but let's stop that. Let's be positive. Let's focus on these amazing scents because these are amazing. Let's get our nose into Oud. This is really good. This is really good, powerful, fermented, very, very cheesy, very, very rich. It's way better than the Ajmal that I sampled recently. Kind of reminds me of the Frederic Malle, the Night, which I really love and I still want a bottle of. This one here might be a really good replacement for that. It's not necessarily that much cheaper, but you get a little bit more juice for the price. Overall, wow. Very, very strong first impression. It's a very oud-centric, oud-forward fragrance. It smells nothing like War and Peace 2, by the way, absolutely nothing. They're completely different fragrances. But again, I was kind of expecting that, and I really wanted to showcase differences and exclusive, high-end, luxurious, stinky approaches. This is also incredibly addicting, very, very eye-opening. I'm a huge fan of this fermented cheesy oud. There's a little bit of a lingering sweetness in here, a little bit of a fruitiness. But it's dry, it's dense, it's resinous, it's pungent. Everything in here is so incredibly aggressive, especially compared to War and Peace. Yeah, this is incredibly smooth, very, very polite, very approachable, despite the distinct animalic note. And by the way, I just can't get away from that cacao note. It's incredibly beautiful. It's kind of reminding me of the Bortnikov I have. Yeah, this is a completely different vibe. Sharp, pungent, direct, fermented, a little bit bitter, a little bit sour to a degree. It sits much higher in the tone range. It's not necessarily energetic or zingy. It's just very acidic and sour. It kind of smells like car battery acid to a degree. It has that sharpness, it has that pungency. It's also very, very complex and deep. And in a similar way to how I described the Night, this feels like an endless pit of oud where you can really explore all these facets. And I really can't pick up on any other distinct note from that giant note breakdown. I do feel that those giant note breakdowns are mostly for show, for marketing. I have no doubt that all those ingredients are actually in there. But again, how useful is it to showcase every ingredient where you can mainly pick up one or two? This one here is mainly oud. It's mainly this very fermented, barnyardy, very cheesy, very sharp type of oud, which I absolutely love. This is so good that I'm actually thinking about spraying it again. I won't because this would be unfair to the comparison. But yeah, this is really, really amazing. I'm super happy I have this massive sample. By the end of this, who knows? I might even be looking at getting a bottle. This is definitely one of the better ouds that I smelt. It's so deep, so rich, it feels super high quality. Again, you really have to be into those cheesy ouds, those very sharp, sour type of notes. My only hope is that this beautiful opening scent profile stays as much as possible even in the deep dry down. That was actually my biggest critique of the night. It basically transitions to this very ashy, rose, very clean type of woody scent. And I wasn't really into that. I was into the opening. I was into the cheesy, fermented, sour opening. And that was exactly the same critique that I gave the Ajmal, the Mukallat al Oud. That one also transitioned way too fast, way too abruptly, and that beautiful fermented opening was gone basically within an hour. I really hope that this one here lives up to the price tag and to the luxurious aspect. I really hope it retains a lot of that oudiness deep in the dry down. I was actually thinking about giving these two fragrances another sniff before the break, but these two scent profiles smell like they have a very, very slow development. So I'm gonna just skip that, take a break. I'm a little bit fatigued. These are very, very intense, very beautiful. I'm gonna be enjoying the hell out of this break. See you in a bit. All right, we're back. This has been a long break. Well, actually, it really hasn't been a break because this is home office day. I've been smelling these two fragrances throughout my afternoon workflow. This was an amazing, amazing experience. I really, really like both of them. I have nothing but good things to say. Starting out with the Areej le Doré. This is still absolutely incredible, super smooth, super stable. I feel that the scent has evolved very, very little from the start. It's almost molasses-like. It's just like this incredibly viscous thing, just like rolling down a hill at lethargic pace. It almost feels like lava. It's been over 3 hours and the scent smells remarkably similar to when I first sprayed it on. It's just so incredibly dense and deep, and actually maybe it's because it was that low in the tonal range, maybe it's because it was that oily and dense that it's so slow evaporating. This definitely smells oily, it smells dense, it smells molasses-like, as I said. I get the impression that the longevity for wear and peace will be absolutely insane. Not only the longevity, but probably also the consistent of wear. This is an incredibly stable smell. It will probably be smelling like this for a very, very long time. Again, it's very, very predictable, non-evolving, non-transitioning. Maybe it's too early. This is absolutely insane. I really like this. This is so smooth. It's a little bit smoother than when I sprayed it on, but it's still incredibly musky, incredibly animalic, so furry, so enveloping, so perfectly sweet. It's sweet in such an addicting, natural way, not overpowering at all, so incredibly balanced and smooth. It smells like the best leather garment or good that you could ever put your nose on. It smells so incredibly deep and rich. I just can't put it into words. I keep repeating myself just because it's that good. It's that mind-blowing. Again, even after 3 hours of wear, I'm still completely obsessed, so completely mind-blown. Yeah, I just can't get enough of this. That chocolate note is so beautifully fine-tuned. It puts stuff like Andy Towers et al. Completely to shame. And I'm not even sure that there's a chocolate note in here, but it conveys this very dusty, very rich, sweet chocolate date type of note, which is absolutely addicting, as I said before. Gorgeous stuff. Any preconception that I had towards Areej le Doré basically got devoured by this scent. It's really, really that good. In this comparison, Oud by Spirit of Dubai is also absolutely amazing. This is one of the best, if not the best, fermented, fruity, cheesy oud that I've ever smelled. It's super deep, super long lasting, as I was hoping for. The opening, that very beautiful, sour, sharp opening, permeates the fragrance for a very, very long time. Even now, after more than 3 hours, I can definitely still perceive it. The scent has transitioned, but it hasn't transitioned to something completely different. There's no rose note, there's no weird other note that really just takes over. This is still, first and foremost, an oud fragrance. Yes, it has smoothed out, it has dried off, literally and figuratively, but it smells still sharp. It smells still like oud. It smells still very woody. It has a little bit of a dusty, ashy component to it. But again, the oud nature of this scent is still very, very present. And this also feels like it would last an eternity. I'm really amazed because the other oud scents that I've smelled, the Night and Mukhalata Oud by Ajmal, those two transitioned way too fast. They were a little bit underwhelming in that regard. This one is everything I was hoping for. I can just imagine what this is like with more sprays. I'm super, super curious. I'll probably wear this as my scent of the day tomorrow. I'm not going to work. This is a little bit too sharp, too edgy for work. But yeah, I really, really can't wait to wear this. As a surprise action, when coming back from the break, I decided to pull in one of my all-time favorites. This one here is Silver Oud. This one is also a very exclusive, very luxurious stinky. And the reason I brought this in is because I kept getting reminded of the scent from both sides. This is basically like the perfect middle ground between the War and Peace and the Oud by Spirit of Dubai. It has a little bit of sharpness from the Spirit of Dubai. It has a little bit of that funky oudiness, but it's mostly incredibly smooth, incredibly vanilla-like, and it smells a lot like War and Peace. War and Peace comes across as a little bit smoother, a little bit more deep, and a little bit more nuanced than this, and that's a massive praise because this is one of my favorite fragrances ever. But nonetheless, Amouage Silver Oud, super great. It perfectly strikes the middle ground. It has a lot of the smoothness of War and Peace, a little bit of the sharpness of Oud by Spirit of Dubai. This is really good and I'm so happy I have it. And actually smelling these two together made me realize how much I appreciate this and why I appreciate it so much. I could spend the whole evening smelling my arms and talking about these scents, but it's time to wrap it up. Let's touch upon the practicalities. As I mentioned, performance for these two is absolutely stellar in all regards. Longevity, massive. Projection, massive. No complaints whatsoever. This is definitely to be expected given the high price point, given the high luxurious content of these two scents. Really, really good. No complaints there, absolutely amazing. When it comes to actual versatility and use cases, these two scents come across as very luxurious, very regal, very, very elegant. They would be perfect companions to an evening out. These would smell absolutely and undeniably amazing when dressed up. That contrast, being dressed up elegantly and wearing these two, it would be completely jaw-dropping. Absolutely incredible. The almost palpable sillage, the immense depth, and that insane luxurious feeling that these two have is pretty much second to none. When it comes to day-to-day wear, you could probably pull these off, but they would come across as a little bit inappropriate, a little bit jarring. These are very beautiful. I don't think that they're offensive at all. If someone were to smell like this around me, I would just compliment them just because it's so amazing, so unique, so different smelling. Again, I'm a little bit of a weirdo, but I do think that in the air, these diffuse a lot and they come across as very, very deep, very complex. Again, very, very high end. Between the two, the sharper and edgy one is definitely the Spirit of Dubai, but I really don't think that anyone smelling this in the air would even consider that you would smell bad or dirty or Animalic. This is just so beautiful, so addictingly enticing. To quickly touch upon demographics, although these two are probably marketed as unisex, they do come across as a little bit masculine. They're very intense, very deep, very, not gritty, but they're very edgy in a way. They're very particular. That Animalic touch is definitely not for everyone. You really have to be into this sort of fragrance to really pull it off confidently and to really enjoy the wear experience. I absolutely love it. They're definitely not youthful at all. You need a lot of experience, a lot of fragrance experience to really appreciate this and to really just be mesmerized and just be relaxed by this insane trip that these bring you on. Absolutely incredible. Just to close this video off with my final recommendations, these two fragrances proved to be absolutely amazing. I'm completely floored by both of them. The Areej le Doré is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I will eventually get a bottle. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I will eventually get one. I actually don't know which one to get. I'm looking at maybe Royal Barn or Curtis. Those two specifically are for sale by the person who gave me this one here. This one also, the Spirit of Dubai Oud, I'll first go through the sample. I really want to savor it. I really want to experience it. And if by the end of the sample, I still enjoy it and I still like it, I'll probably end up making this my default standard fermented cheesy oud. I think that First impressions alone, it's better than the night. It's a little bit more deep. It's a little bit more what I'm looking for. It has the complexity of the night, but it transitions way less, and it keeps the fermented oud. It keeps that woody oudiness even deep down in the dry down. It's absolutely incredible. My final recommendations can be summed up with an enthusiastic, definite sample if you have a chance. These are not cheap fragrances. They're very, very hard to come by, but if you have a chance, get yourself a sample, get yourself a decant. I bet that all other Areej le Dorés feature the same sort of depths and complexity. Absolutely incredible. For Spirit of Dubai, I really can't comment because this one here is amazing. I really haven't smelled the other ones. I actually have a decant of something leather, something queer, which I'll be smelling probably on camera in another first impression comparison. But yeah, this one here is absolutely incredible. I was so happy to get a sample of this. I went directly for this and I'm not disappointed at all. If you're a fan of deep, complex, luxurious, animalic and funky fragrances, these two are a definite recommendation. As I said before, do not blind buy these. These are definitely not the fragrances to gamble with, both in scent profile and price. I'm really in love with these. I am happy I had a chance to smell these. I'm constantly in awe by these new amazing fragrances that I get to sample. I'm so surprised that I keep raising the bar. I feel like I'm gonna have to hit a plateau sooner or later, but so far I just keep stepping up the ladder, increasing and exceeding my fragrance expectations. If you have a chance to smell these, do so. Even if they don't appear to be your cup of tea, you might be surprised. You might be surprised by the wonderful world of fragrance. If you like this type of content, if you like my approach to video, feel free to subscribe. It's always massively appreciated and it helps the channel. If you want to interact with me, leave a comment, suggestion, opinion, or anything else down below. I always reply and I always keep the conversation open. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. It's always massively appreciated. More videos to come and more fun scents to sample. See you in the next one and cheers.